Introduction. The Autism Act 2009 Committee in the House of Lords is looking into how well the Autism Act 2009 and the government's autism strategy are working. As part of this, the committee is holding a call for written evidence, asking for information and views from you. An easy-read version of the call for evidence is also available. Please read the information on this page before sending in your response to the call for written evidence. If you have a question about something on this page, you can get in touch with us using the contact details at the bottom of this page. 1. Why do House of Lords committees publish calls for written evidence? Committees in the House of Lords hold inquiries about parts of government policy. This is when they investigate what the government is doing, ask how well it is working, and consider what the government should do differently in the future. To help do this, committees often publish calls for written evidence. This is when they ask everyone interested to answer questions about the topic they are investigating. Anyone is welcome to respond to the call for evidence, answering the questions in a way that reflects their knowledge and experience. Committees use this evidence to write reports, saying what they have found out, and making recommendations about what the government should do. You can find out more about House of Lords committees at https://www.parliament.uk/lords/work-of-the-Lords/select-committees. 2. Why is the Autism Act 2009 committee holding this call for evidence? The Autism Act 2009 Committee was appointed on the 30th of January 2025 to consider the Autism Act 2009 and to make recommendations. The Autism Act 2009, see https://www.legislation.gov.uk/UKPGA /2-0-0-9/1-5/contents is a law that says the government must publish an autism strategy for England and statutory guidance about supporting autistic people. The government's autism strategy is a plan for how to improve the lives of autistic people and their families. The current autism strategy, see https://www.gov.uk/2-2-2-2-6 is about the period from 2021 to 2026. The strategy says that the government plans to take action to improve autistic people's lives across 6 priority areas. Improving understanding and acceptance of autism within society, improving autistic people's access to education and supporting transitions into adulthood, supporting more autistic people into employment, tackling health and care inequalities for autistic people, building the right support in the community and supporting people in inpatient care, and improving support within the criminal and youth justice systems. The statutory guidance, see https://www.gov.uk/government/autism/strategy-statutory-guidance, says what the NHS and local authorities should do to make sure the autism strategy works. The committee wants to understand how well the Autism Act and the autism strategy are working, and to make recommendations about what the government should do next. To help it do this, the committee is holding this call for written evidence, to seek information and views from you. The committee will also take evidence in other ways to make sure we hear from a wide range of people. For example, example, by talking to autistic people and their families or carers, and inviting people to speak at public meetings. We will consider ways to make sure we hear from autistic people with communication differences. The committee will consider all the evidence that it receives, and publish a report making recommendations to the government. The committee plans to agree this report by the 30th of November 2025. The government will publish a response to the committee's report and recommendations. This should happen within 2 months of the report's publication. You can follow the progress of the committee's inquiry at https://committee.parliament.uk//autism-act-2 Lords, percentage symbol number 2 number 0, select percentage symbol number 2 number 0, committee, comma, number 2 number 0 number 0 number 9, percentage symbol number 2 number 0, and percentage symbol number 2 number 0, 2, that's TO, percentage symbol number 2 number 0, make percentage symbol number 2 number 0 recommendations. 3. Who should respond to the call for evidence? We want to hear from everyone interested. We particularly welcome your views if any of the following apply to you. You are an autistic person, including if you have a diagnosis or if you consider yourself autistic. You have an autistic person in your family, or you care for or support an autistic person. You work with autistic people in your job, or you do research into how to support autistic people. We will be able to do our work more effectively if we hear from a diverse range of people and organisations with different perspectives. We want to hear from a wide range of people with different characteristics, for example across gender and gender identity, age, support needs, co-occurring conditions, caring responsibilities, socioeconomic and ethnic background, religion, location, and sexuality. It's important that everyone who wants to send us evidence can do so. You can find out more about the different ways to submit evidence in Section 5 later in this recording. You are welcome to work with someone else, such as a friend, family member or carer, to prepare your evidence. Ask someone else to submit evidence on your behalf. Ask for help from a support organisation to prepare your evidence. Submit a voice recording as evidence, which we will transcribe into a published written document. Or contact us if you need help to send us your evidence, or if anything is unclear. In this call for evidence, we are mainly asking about support for autistic people in England. This is because the Autism Act 2009 and the Autism Strategy are about England, and because we will make our formal recommendations to the UK government about its responsibilities in England. You can still tell us about support for autistic people in Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, and in other countries in response to questions 21 and 22. We know we may not be asking specific questions about every part of government policy that is important to autistic people in England. This is because we want to focus on the Autism Act 2009 and the Autism Strategy. You might want to check if another committee in Parliament is holding a call for evidence about an issue that is important to you. Committees consider areas of government policy including health and social care. See https://committees.parliament.uk/committee/number 8 1/social-and-care-committee. Education. See https://committees.parliament.uk/committee/number 2 number 0 number 3/education-committee. And work and pensions. See https://committee.uk/committee/number1/6/4/work-and-pensions-committee. 4. Questions. You should answer at least one of the questions in this call for evidence. You can answer more than one question if you like. You don't have to answer every question. In your answers, you should tell us about what is going well, what is not going well, and what you think the government should do differently in the future. When you tell us your view about something, you should tell us what information you are basing that view on. We will use your answers to help inform the committee's report and recommendations. The questions in this call for evidence are broad, but you are welcome to answer the questions in a way that reflects your specific knowledge and experience. Evidence about autistic people and what they need. In this section, we are asking questions about what we currently know about autistic people in England and what they need from the government. 1. A. What evidence is there about the numbers of autistic people, diagnosed and undiagnosed in England, and their demographic characteristics, for example age, gender or ethnic background? And B. How is the evidence on the numbers of autistic people, diagnosed and undiagnosed in England, and their demographic characteristics changing over time? 2. A. What evidence is there about what autistic people need from the government and public services, and the most important policy issues for autistic people and their families or carers? And B. How is this changing over time? 3. A. What evidence does the government need to make policy and plan services for autistic people? And B. Who should collect this evidence? The Autism Act 2009 and the government's autism strategy. In this section, we are asking questions about the Autism Act 2009, the government's autism strategy, and the statutory guidance. 4. A. In what ways have the Autism Act 2009 and successive government autism strategies been successful or unsuccessful in improving support for autistic people? And B. What are the reasons for this? 5. A. How effective has the government's approach been to setting policy aims in each autism strategy, funding and implementing actions to achieve those aims, and evaluating progress? And B. Should the government do this differently in future, and if so, how? 6. A. How effective has statutory guidance to the Autism Act 2009 been in improving support for autistic people? And B. To what extent are the NHS and local authorities achieving the duties set out in the statutory guidance? 7. A. What processes are there for holding national and local bodies, including the government, the NHS and local authorities, to account for progress against the autism strategy and statutory guidance? And B. How could those processes be made more effective? The government's priorities. In this section, we are asking questions about the priority areas in the government's autism strategy for 2021 to 2026, and what the government should prioritise in its next strategy. Overview. In this question, we are asking what the government should prioritise to improve autistic people's lives. 8. A. The Autism Strategy for 2021 to 2026 says that the government plans to take action to improve autistic people's lives across 6 priority areas: improving and understanding acceptance of autism within society, improving autistic people's access to education and supporting transitions into adulthood, supporting more autistic people into employment, tackling health and care inequalities for autistic people, building the right support in the community and supporting people in inpatient care, and improving support within the criminal and youth justice systems. Do you think that they are the right priority areas? Why or why not? And B, is there anything else that the government should prioritise to improve autistic people's lives? Public understanding and acceptance. In this section, we are asking questions about public understanding and acceptance of autistic people. Your answer could focus on one or more parts of this. For example, when we ask about community inclusion for autistic people, you could focus on access to businesses, public sector services, transport, culture, or sport. 9. A. What are the main problems with public understanding and acceptance of autistic people? B. What is going well? And C. How can public understanding and acceptance of autistic people be improved? 10. A. What are the main problems with community inclusion for autistic people? B. What is going well? And C. How can community inclusion for autistic people be improved? Healthcare. In these questions, we are asking about pathways for identification, diagnosis, and support for autistic people. Your answer could focus on one or more parts of this. For example, you could talk about accessing an autism assessment and post-diagnostic support, or accessing support without a diagnosis. 11. A. What pathways are there for the identification and support of autistic people, when they need it, through assessment, diagnosis, and post-diagnostic support, and throughout their lives? B. What are the strengths of those pathways? And C. What are the main problems with those pathways? 12. A. How can the government improve assessment, diagnosis, and post-diagnostic support for autistic people? And B. How can the government improve pathways for the identification and support of autistic people when they need it and throughout their lives? In this question, we are asking about access to healthcare for autistic people. Your answer could focus on one or more parts of this. For example, you could talk about visiting the GP or accessing mental health services. 13. A. What are the main problems for autistic people in accessing healthcare, including for physical and mental health? B. What is going well? And C. How can access to healthcare for autistic people be improved? Community support and inpatient care. In this section, we are asking questions about building community support for autistic people, reducing the use of inpatient care, and improving the quality of healthcare and community support. Your answer could focus on one or more parts of this. For example, you could talk about accessing social care or supported housing, or improving hospital care. 14. A. What are the main problems with access to community support for autistic people? B. What is going well? C. How can community support for autistic people be improved? And D. How can the use of inpatient care be reduced? 15. A. What are the main problems with the quality of healthcare and community support for autistic people? B. What is going well? And C. How can the quality of healthcare and community support for autistic people be improved? Education and transitions to adulthood. In this section, we are asking questions about access to education and transitions to adulthood for autistic children and young people. Your answer could focus on one or more parts of this. For example, you could talk about inclusion for autistic children in mainstream schools, access to specialist education, or moving to further education. 16. A. What are the main problems for autistic children and young people in accessing education? B. What is going well? And C. How can access to education for autistic children and young people be improved? 17. A. What are the main problems for autistic young people in transitions to adulthood, including the move from children's to adult services? B. what is going well? And C, how can transitions to adulthood for autistic children and young people be improved? Employment. In this section, we are asking questions about supporting more autistic people into employment. Your answer could focus on one or more parts of this. For example, you could talk about accessing an internship or apprenticeship, accessing supported employment, or accessing reasonable adjustments at work. 18. A. What are the main problems for autistic young people in the move from education to work? B. What is going well? And C. How can the move from education to work for autistic children and young people be improved? 19. A. What are the main problems for autistic people in both finding and staying in work? B. What is going well? And C. How can support for autistic people find and stay in work be improved? Criminal and youth justice. In this section, we are asking questions about supporting autistic people who come into contact with the criminal and youth justice systems. Your answer could focus on one or more aspects of this. For example, you could talk about support for autistic people who are suspects, defendants, offenders, victims, or witnesses. 20. A. What are the main problems with support for autistic people who are in contact with the criminal and youth justice systems? B. What is going well? And C. How can support for autistic people who are in contact with the criminal and youth justice systems be improved? Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, and around the world. In this section, we are asking questions about support for autistic people in Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, and around the world. 21. A. What could the UK government learn from the devolved governments in Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland on effective ways to support autistic people? And B. How should the UK government work with the devolved governments in supporting autistic people? And 22. What could the UK government learn from other countries around the world on effective ways to support autistic people? 5. Important information about sending us written evidence. Please read this section before you send us a written evidence submission. This information is particularly important if you are sending a written evidence submission about your own experiences. How should I prepare my written evidence submission? You should prepare your written evidence submission specifically for the committee. We can't accept anything that has not been prepared specifically in response to this call for evidence, or that has been published elsewhere already. You are welcome to include references to information published elsewhere to support your answers. You can answer the questions in either the conventional or the easy-read version of the call for evidence. You can also work with someone else, such as a friend, family member or carer, to prepare your evidence. Ask someone else to submit evidence on your behalf. Ask for help from a support organisation to prepare your evidence. Submit a voice recording as evidence, which we will transcribe into a published written document. Or contact us if you need help to send us your evidence, or if anything is unclear. Your submission should answer at least one question in the call for evidence, and be short and concise. You should try to make sure that your submission is no more than 6 pages long in total. If your submission is longer than 6 pages, you should include a 1-page summary. This is because we may receive a lot of submissions from different people, and we want to be able to consider each one carefully. You should include your name and briefly say why you are responding. Say whether you're submitting evidence as an individual or on behalf of an organisation. Say which questions you're answering. Number the paragraphs in your submission and use section headings. And put the date on your submission. You can find more advice on how to submit evidence at https://publications.parliament.uk PA/CM/written-evidence-guidance.htm. How should I send in my written evidence submission? You can send us your written submission online in Word document format using the form available at https://committees.parliament.uk/call-4/call-3 6 Or send your written submission or voice recording by email to hlautismact2009, that's number 2, number 0, number 0, number 9, at parliament.uk. Please contact us if you find it difficult to send us your submission online, want to send us your submission in a different format, want to send us your submission after the deadline has passed, or need any other changes so that you can send us your submission. You can find contact information at the bottom of this page. What will happen to my written evidence submission after I send it to you? You will receive an acknowledgement that your submission has been received. The committee will formally decide whether to accept your submission as evidence. This is usually a formality, as long as your submission follows the guidance in this document. We will tell you when this happens. Once the committee accepts your submission as evidence, it will normally be published on the internet. This is so that everyone can see the information the committee has considered in its inquiry and who wrote it. Published evidence cannot be changed or removed. That means that other people will be able to find and read what you send us. If you have included your name or any personal information in your submission, that will normally be published too. You should consider how much personal information you want or need to share. Your contact details will never be published. We'll read your submission and we'll use it to help the committee's inquiry. For example, the committee might use your name and your submission in a report. We'll keep your contact details and we might use them to get in touch with you about the committee's work, for example, to ask for any further information. What should I not include in my written evidence submission? This section provides advice on what not to include in your written evidence submission. If you're not sure whether to include something in your submission or not, you can contact us for advice. Requests for help. You can talk about your personal experiences in your submission, but we can't help you with individual problems or complaints. If you would like political support or advice, you may wish to contact your local Member of Parliament. See https://get-involved/contact-an-or-lord/contact-your-MP. If you have an urgent problem, you can find sources of help at https://www.autism.org.uk/contact-us/urgent-help. Information about other people. Please do not include personal information about other people, including your friends and family, in your submission. If you do this, the committee may decide not to publish your submission. We won't publish submissions that contain statements that could be defamatory. This is when you say something untrue that could harm someone's reputation. Legal cases. Please do not tell us about an ongoing legal case or information about anything that is likely to be the subject of future legal proceedings in your submission. We can't publish submissions that mention ongoing legal cases. Safeguarding concerns. If your submission raises any safeguarding concerns about you or anybody else, then we have a responsibility to raise those concerns with the appropriate safeguarding authority. If you are, or someone else is, at immediate risk or in danger, you should contact the police on 999. What if I want my evidence to be published without my name? You can let us know if you want your submission to be anonymized. Please explain at the start of your submission why you are asking for this. The committee will decide whether or not to publish your submission on an anonymous basis. Anonymized evidence is published, but names and identifying details are removed. We may anonymize or redact some of your submission if it is published, even where you have not requested this. We will contact you if we think this is needed. We will never publish your name if you have asked us not to. What if I want to send you evidence, but I don't want it to be published? You can let us know if you want us to accept your submission on a confidential basis. Please explain at the start of your submission why you are asking for this. Confidential evidence is available to the committee, but is not published or referred to in public. The committee will decide whether to accept your submission on a confidential basis. We may treat your submission confidentially even where you have not requested this. We will contact you if we think this is needed. We will never publish your submission if you have asked us not to. Who will be legally responsible for my submission? Your submission will become the property of the committee when it is accepted. Once we have told you that your submission has been accepted, you may publicize or publish it yourself. When you do this, you must indicate that it was prepared for the committee. You must not publish your submission before the committee does. Parliamentary privilege refers to the rights and powers that belong to Parliament, and that enable it to fulfil its role. In particular, it gives legal protection for freedom of speech in Parliament, including for people who give evidence in writing or in person to committees. Once your submission is accepted, it will be protected by parliamentary privilege. If you publish your submission separately, you will be legally responsible for its content. Contact us. If you have a question about something on this page, you may contact us in any of the following ways. Via email, HL Autism Act 2009, that's number 2, number 0, number 0, number 9, at parliament.uk. Via social media, or via post. Clerk to the Select Committee on the Autism Act 2009, Committee Office, House of Lords, London, SW1A 0PW. Your question will be handled by the committee staff team. End of recording.